Greetings. Um, I'm so happy that you're here today with us. Uh, I'm going to offer you some fun thing to think about. Just think where we find ourselves related to. The place is called NewBridge. What is in the name? The bridge is a connection. People build bridges wherever they live, small space, big place, any place. And there is one very young city on the face of the earth, very young, like a little bit more than 300 years, known for this harmonious grandeur and famous for its beautiful, gorgeous, multiple bridges, because the city is dwelling on the islands. Today, we are very fortunate to have Marina Pishchenkova with us, with the huge expert knowledge about the culture and history of the city, and with the great experience as a person who is leading and guiding the tours around the city. So Marina will help us to observe this special feature of St. Petersburg in Russia, all the many bridges of this place, imperial, huge, very, very tiny and charmingly cozy bridges, all variety of them. Marina will help us to observe, appreciate, and better understand this absolutely outstandingly utmost beauty of the city of St. Petersburg. Now, Marina.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for this introduction, Olga. I was born and raised in St. Petersburg. This is my native city. And since childhood, I've been exploring every corner of my beloved hometown. And eventually my hobby became my profession. I became a tour guide in St. Petersburg and its suburbs for Russian and English speaking tourists. And St. Petersburg is not just a city for me. It's something magic, something that where I met actually my future husband. And this meeting radically changed my life and brought me here to Boston. And I'm falling in love in Boston as well, but I'm very honored, I'm very happy today to have at least this virtual tour with you to my city and to share some stories about St. Petersburg. And today the main characters in my story are diverse, legendary, and beautiful bridges in the city. It's generally accepted that there are 342 bridges in the city. So this number you can find in any guidebook. But of course, this number is not so important for us because we do not walk around the city, do not count the bridges. We just admire their beauties and admire those people who created this beauty. For centuries, people from all over the world came to St. Petersburg to create this beautiful city on the banks of the Neva River. And I'm happy that today we have this opportunity to share through this video lecture these pictures that I'm going to show you, the most majestic bridges, starting from the little old wooden ones and humpbacked stone bridges to the huge steel majestic giants. So I need now to share my screen with you and to show you some pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start talking about some bridges in particular, let's dive into history a little bit. St. Petersburg, as already Olga mentioned, is a comparatively young city. It's only 73 years younger than Boston. So it was founded in 1703 by Russian Tsar, eventually who became Emperor Peter the Great, on the shore of the bank of the Neva River. So now you see the central part of the city. You see a lot of blue colors. So the biggest river in the city, the Neva River, starts from the deepest lake in Europe, which is called Ladoga Lake, and spills into the Gulf of Finland, which is the part of the Baltic Sea. And the city was founded on the little island. You can see this little island in the almost in the upper part of this picture, which is called the Rapids Island. And this is the Never Delta. And due to the river, actually, the city was founded here 3 centuries ago during the military time when the war broke out with Sweden. And Peter the Great started from the fortress. So we can say that the first structure in the whole city was the fortress on this island. And then this fortress gave the name to the city, St. Petersburg. Eventually, the fortress acquired the name of Peter and Paul. And city is located on 44 islands, and the land is cut by more than 50 different rivers and canals. And if you have already visited St. Petersburg, you probably know that it's hard to move in the city center a few 100 feet without crossing a bridge. So bridge, it's a really vital part in the city. And bridge, it's not only the engineering structure for St. Petersburg, but also the pleasure for eyes. And today you will be the witness of this because I will show you many pictures of different kinds of bridges in the city. So here is another map. You can see the Neva River is here, and also as beautiful necklace, river necklace, these rivers and canals below to the south of the city, like Moika, Griboyedov Canal, and Fontanka River, circle the city center as a necklace from the south. And St. Petersburg is honored by its title, the cultural capital of Russia, because the city has more than 200 theaters, more than 250 museums, and as I already mentioned, more than 300 bridges. And one of the beloved tourist attractions during the summertime is to take a boat trip and to have amazing ride along the rivers and canals to see the diversity of bridges. And among these bridges, there are some of them that are drawbridges. All 21 bridges across the Neva during the night raise their wings to let the huge ship pass. And I will talk about this, the whole procedure a little bit later when we start talking about rivers across the Neva. But this is very interesting that at the very beginning when city was constructed, Peter the Great, the founder of the city, whom you can see on this picture, prohibited to construct bridges because he was a kind of a seaman. He loved sea, he loved navigation, he loved ships. He visited Amsterdam. It was one of his favorite cities twice. And he took all achievements from Dutch people and brought it to St. Petersburg. And that's why he forced people to train themselves and to use a boat. People were lazy sometimes, that they didn't accept the reforms that Peter implemented, and they didn't like to ride boats along the Neva River, which has a very strong and current, and it's very deep and cold. But it's interesting that no bridges were during the Peter the Great time, except just little wooden bridges that were constructed because it was for the needs of the construction of the fortress. And the first bridge that appeared in the city was Ianovsky Bridge. So this bridge you can see in front of you. So this bridge was constructed because it was needed to bring the construction material to the territory of the fortress. So on the right side of this picture, you can see the red walls of the Peter and Paul fortress, the first construction in the city, the oldest part. And to deliver the construction materials, this wooden bridge was made across the Kronberg Strait. And of course, this bridge eventually was rebuilt couples of times because wood is not an eternal material. But the original layout, the design, and the spot where the bridge was preserved. It was called Ioannovsky Bridge in honor of the elder brother, Peter the Great, Ioan. And now it's a very popular place in the city. But Peter the Great didn't like to construct buildings out of wood, only some bridges. And he once also implemented a tax, a stone tax, that every cart or every boat that entered the city had to bring a certain amount of building stones. And almost all buildings from the very beginning of the city were built from the stones, not from the wood. That's why sometimes we compare two hugest cities in Russia, Moscow and St. Petersburg, Moscow as the wooden capital and St. Petersburg as the stone capital in Russia. However, the first stone bridge appeared in the city not at the time of Peter the Great, but at the time of another great person, Catherine the Great, that ruled the country in the middle and in the second half of the 18th century. This bridge is called the Hermitage Bridge. Now I'm showing you the lithograph from 1820s. And you can see on the background the image of Peter and Paul Cathedral and fortress itself, and this little stone humpbacked elegant bridge that was called the Hermitage Bridge because of the vicinity of the Hermitage Theater that you can see on your right with the statue. This bridge is, so there's a modern picture. It's a beautiful assemble, part of the beautiful assemble of the Hermitage complex of the Hermitage Museum. So on the right, you can see one of the buildings of the Hermitage Museum, and from the both sides, actually, these are all buildings belong to this huge museum. And this place became a very romantic. Many newlyweds couple came here, stand on this bridge, and make their wish. So as I already mentioned, this bridge appeared after Peter the Great, at the time of Catherine the Great, first half of the 18th century. And but Peter the Great, as I already mentioned, didn't like to build bridges at all. And the first temporary bridge across the Neva River appeared also only after his death. And it looked like this. The huge barks were put to each other, tied with ropes, and a deck was put on surface of these boats. This bridge, of course, as it was temporary, was put on this place on the surface of Neva River only when it was needed. At the time of summer and spring, when the Neva was icebound or just started covering with the crust, this bridge, they put away these boats, and of course people just use the ice to cross the Neva River. This bridge was called Saint Isaac's Bridge, and it was used for a long time, for about 2 centuries, until 1916. Then it was burned down completely by a spark from the passing barge. So already permanent bridges were built across the Neva River, but this bridge still existed. And only in the middle of the 19th century, in 1850, the first permanent bridge was constructed next to the Gulf of Finland. So this bridge that you see on the picture is called the Annunciation Bridge. It was called after the church that was standing on one of the shores of this bridge. And the construction of this bridge was in 1950. It was finished during the reign of Russian Tsar Nicholas I. And there's a legend about this bridge that the Polish engineer who participated in the construction, his name was Kerbet. And once Nicholas I said that he would give the promotion to Kerbet for every completed span. And you can see this bridge has 8 spans total. And when the construction was completed, Kerbet became a general. But this is just a legend because when he started, he already had a rank of lieutenant colonel. And this bridge is the first bridge where people, all tourists from all over the world, come to see how the raising of bridges at night. This bridge starts raising its wing at 1:15. So it's very late. Many tourists, they do not go to sleep, to bed. They just stay on the embankment and see this beautiful attraction. So this is the same bridge, Annunciation Bridge. It's quite long. Once it was completed in 1850, it was the longest bridge in Europe. It has also these beautiful decorations of railings, seahorses and trident of Neptune. Of course, St. Petersburg was the port, first of all, and the bridge building was a vital part of the city always and still now. And that's why many architects and engineers, they used these subjects from the sea, like images of tridents, images of sea life, and that you can see here on this railing, to show that St. Petersburg is a sea city and has an outlet to the Baltic Sea. Eventually, many bridges started to grow and appear on the Never River. And one of the maybe the most remarkable views that you can see in the city is the rising of the Palace Bridge. This image you can see on every souvenir card and in guidebooks. The Palace Bridge is a comparatively new bridge across the Never. It was finished only in 1916. And it's one of the few bridges that have these 2 wings rising up at the same time, while the rest of bridges, they only rise only 1 wing. And you can see this beautiful view that is opening through this corridor of the rising bridge. This is the Peter and Paul fortress. This is picture I want to show you just to see the vicinity of the sea. This area, this land is called the Spit of Vasilievsky Island. And you see that this is really island because it's connected with the with another islands with bridges from both sides. So this is the delta of the river. And far away, you can see the Gulf of Finland, which is the part of the Baltic Sea. This is interesting, very interesting picture. This is the St. Palace Bridge, and this is one of the historical moments that happened a couple of years ago, when through this bridge, the symbol of revolution, the famous cruiser Aurora, was passing under this bridge during the daytime. And it's interesting that all this procedure with raising wings absolutely has nothing to do with tourism, even though it attracts millions of people. But it's absolutely practical thing. It happens because of the course of ships that deliver cargoes to the city and from the city. So Never is the part of the Volga-Baltic Canal that was made during the Soviet times, connecting the parts of Russia from the Middle Russia to the European parts of Russia. And that's why still now Never is the very important transport artery. And of course, to let the ship pass, all bridges across the Never raises their wings to let them in. And as I already mentioned, the first bridge that starts opening is the Annunciation Bridge, and then Palace Bridge that you can see on the picture. And then by turn, every bridge has its own schedule of rising. And next, this is the same Palace Bridge. I just wanted to show you why it was called Palace, the Palace Bridge, because of the vicinity of the beautiful Winter Palace that you can see on the background. This is the Winter Palace. Today is the part of the Hermitage Museum. The Winter Palace was the main residence of Russian monarchs. This bridge was reconstructed in the middle of the 20th century and acquired some Soviet symbolic that you can see in other images of hammer and sickle, and of course the Soviet stars. We still have a lot of from imperial power in St. Petersburg that blends with Soviet. And this is my favorite bridge. It's called the Trinity Bridge. Why it is my favorite? Because I've been studying at the University of Culture and Art, which is located on one of the shores of the Neva River. And we could easily see through the windows this bridge. And sometimes when some lectures be boring, I was looking at the window and see this Trinity Bridge, and I was imagining how I will go home crossing this beautiful bridge. So this was one of the on the way to my home. So I used to cross this bridge a lot of times when I studied at the university. Trinity Bridge was called also after the church, which is called the Trinity Bridge. Unfortunately, today it doesn't exist anymore. It was dismantled during the Soviet times, but the bridge still preserves the name of that church. And you can see on this picture that this bridge maybe reminds you some Parisian landscapes, city landscapes. And in the city, Trinity Bridge we call Parisian beauty, because it was constructed by a French company, Batignolles. And the opening of this bridge coincided with the celebration of 200 years and 200th anniversary of St. Petersburg that happened in 1903. And the competition was made for the construction of this bridge, and even Gustave Eiffel, the famous engineer who constructed Tower in Paris, also participated in this construction, but unfortunately he failed. But however, the victory was won by the French company anyway, Batignolles. And the construction was carrying on the condition that only Russian workers would participate, would construct this building, this bridge, and that the bridge will be made from the local materials. And I will show you some other pictures. So this is the beautiful reflection of the Trinity Bridge in the Neva River. And this is how it looks when it opens its wing to let the ship pass. And in this case, this is the Scarlet ship, as we call, during the period when all students graduated their universities. We have the special day, usually at the end of June, when all students come to the Neva River to see how this symbol of a new life, this Scarlet ship, is going along the Neva River. You see that Trinity Bridge is quite, it's not very high, but it's hard to imagine that once a plane flew under this bridge. It happened in 1941 when Mikhail Kalatozov, one of the movie directors, was shooting a movie about Russian pilot ace, Valery Chkalov. This is a very famous person in Russia. And he was shooting a movie about this famous pilot, and he asked one pilot, 24 years old, Yevgeny Borisenko, to fly under the bridge to create beautiful shots for the movies. And Yevgeny Borisenko had to fly under the bridge in his plane 6 times for better shots eventually. So this is the beautiful part of the decoration of this bridge, beautiful lanterns with a symbol of imperial power and also with the symbol of St. Petersburg. So you can see in the center two anchors, crossed anchors. This is the coat of arms, official coat of arms of St. Petersburg. This is at the entrance of the bridge, beautiful columns made of granite. Also is decorated with symbols of monarchy. You see also double-headed eagle as the symbol of Russian Empire, and still nowadays this is the official coat of arms of Russia. And another bridge is called Liteyny Bridge, so I will show you also this picture. This is Rising Liteyny Bridge. Liteyny, this is the word in Russia that means foundry yard. This bridge appeared at the place where during the time of Peter the Great, the foundry yard was located that was producing the cannons for the needs of the fleet, for the military ships. And this is a decoration of Liteyny Bridge. Also, you see this maritime taste, these mermaids that are holding the coat of arms of St. Petersburg. Two anchors, crossed anchors with a scepter in the center and a crown on top of it. If you go down a little bit, go down the stream of the Neva River, you will see this majestic steel giant. This is the Bolshe-Okhtinsky Bridge, or another name, an easier name to remember, Peter the Great Bridge. I prefer this name, and it's vaguely reminiscent of the Tower Bridge in London because of this beautiful towers. And this fact actually once was used during the shooting another movie in Russia about Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. And you can imagine that this Tower Bridge was honored to be the Tower Bridge and got this role of Tower Bridge while they never portrayed the Thames, the famous London River. So this is how this bridge looks at night when it raises its wing. And you see the view to the Smolny Cathedral. And you see that it's night, but it's not very dark, because we have an interesting phenomena in St. Petersburg due to its geographical location. Starting from the end of May till the beginning of July, this period is called the period of white nights. It's really light at night as during the daytime. You can easily sit on the bench in the park and read a book. So this is one of the example of how it is beautiful during the white nights in the city. And now I'm finishing talking about big bridges, and I want to continue to talk about some, in my opinion, more elegant, more beautiful bridges that usually you can see if you take a boat trip along the rivers and canals in the city. And I'm going to talk about the bridges of Fontanka River. So I want to show you this river that starts in Neva River, and it carries its water for 4 miles, and it finishes at the mouth of the Neva River as well. Fontanka River, so many things and poems were written about this beautiful river. Once at the end of, till the end of the 18th century, this river was the southern boundary of the city when the city was not so huge as right now. And one of the most beautiful bridges across Fontanka is Anichkov Bridge. So you can see this bridge here. On this old lithography. So it has the beautiful decorations of the horses. We call them the tamers of the horses. There are 4 different sculptures that were made by the famous Russian sculptor Pyotr Klot, who was absolutely prolific and incredibly talented sculptor, and who created images of horses, a lot of images of equestrian statues in St. Petersburg. And this is one of the example of his work. So you see, this is the Anichkov Bridge. It has a very interesting name, Anichkov, because it was built originally during the time of Peter the Great. It was a wooden bridge on this spot by the engineer Mikhail Anichkov, who was commanding the soldiers who were constructed very rapidly the first bridge. And eventually, throughout the history, it changed its look several times. At the time of Catherine the Great, this bridge was a drawbridge. It also raised its wing to let the little ships with sails pass, and it had 4 towers at the corners of the bridge that had the special mechanism, rising mechanisms. And only in 1840s, this bridge became how we can see it on the picture, with this elegant statues of horse tamers. And this is the Pyotr Claude, who is depicted here, of course, with his favorite images of horses. Once even Nicholas I, during his reign, this sculpture lived. Nicholas I said, "You, Pyotr, make horses better than a stallion." And it's true. Look carefully at the horses that he created. Every little single detail is visible here. Even we can see the structure of skin and little veins of the horse. And this is one of the first equestrian statues that was created for this bridge. This is the beginning of taming the wild horse. You see that the person is laying down on the ground trying to take the bridle of the horse. And now we see he is already getting his strength, and he already can take the horse. And now he already stood up on his feet, and this is already he conquered the wild horse. So all stages are different. And during the reign of Nicholas I, Russian emperor, when these equestrian statues were made, he loved them so much that Nicholas I twice took them from the bridge and used them as a present diplomatic gift to political figures. For example, once he gave it to King of Prussia, and then he gave it to King of Sicily. And that's why if you go to Berlin or to Sicily, you can see some of these statues. Yes, a lot of work he created for Pyotr Claude, who needed to cast again and again these beautiful statues for Anichkov Bridge. This is also the sample of beautiful decoration of the railings. You can see seahorses and mermaids with a shell. And also, of course, I cannot I want to mention about this tragic period in St. Petersburg history, in Leningrad's history, I should say it, that happened during the siege of Leningrad. During this 900 days of sorrow, when the city was besieged by Nazi troops. And this is what happened to the bridge during the blockade, during the siege of Leningrad. You can see the traces of shelling on this granite pedestal. And you see this plaque, metal plaque that is hanging on this pedestal. It's written that these are the traces of this huge amount of bombs that were dropped on the city during these years of the siege. And during that time, people wanted to protect their city, and they camouflaging some buildings, and they dug deeper in the ground the statues from the numerous statues from the city. And even these huge statues, like tamers of the horses, were buried underground in one of the gardens in the city. So you can see here, this is the already 1945. It happened just right after the victory was declared. And you see that the workers, people are trying to clean these horses, and they're putting them on the spot where they belong. And on the background of this picture, you can see also one of the beautiful theaters in the city. So this is how they were taken out from the pit. And this is another beautiful bridge that is crossing the Fontanka River. This is actually how Anichkov Bridge looked like at the time of Catherine the Great time, because her idea was to build 7 absolutely identical bridges with special mechanisms that will allow to raise the wing, the deck of the bridge. But among of all 7 bridges, only 2 survived from the Catherine the Great time. And as I already mentioned, Anichkov Bridge was rebuilt and acquired this sculptural images of horses. And this is the Lomonosov Bridge that still can show how Fontanka looked like during the time of Catherine the Great. So it's a very elegant bridge that has a name of Lomonosov. Mikhail Lomonosov was one of the genius in Russian history. We call him the Russian Leonardo da Vinci because he contributed almost to every science. He was a very prolific scientist in chemistry, physics, literature, art. So he contributed to every kind of science. And this is one of the decoration of the Lomonosov Bridge, also with this beautiful maritime symbol. Seahorses are everywhere in the city. And this is Mikhail Lomonosov, Russian famous figure, Russian famous scientist and poet. If you go down a little bit farther from the center of the city, you will see this bridge, which is called Egyptian Bridge. It has, of course, this beautiful sphinxes that were made in 1825. They, of course, they are not were not brought from the Egypt, but even though we have in the city, we have the original sphinxes who are more than 2,000 years. And this bridge is, of course, comparatively new. Only in the first half of the 19th century, they were made by Russian sculptor Pavel Sokolov. And they appeared in the city at the time of Egyptomania that was very popular after the Napoleonic campaign in the beginning of the 19th century. And all over in Europe and in St. Petersburg, people started to decorate their houses and even interiors and even the styles of their clothes with some elements from Egyptian culture. And exactly at this time, this bridge appeared in the city with 4 beautiful statues of sphinxes that look more Greek style than Egyptian, I would say. And this is how the bridge looks during the winter time. But originally, when it was just finished in 1826, it had these beautiful gates. And you can see the statues of sphinxes over here. But in January 1905, something incredible happened. This bridge just fell down into the Fontanka River. So you can see this photograph of this incident. The cavalry squadron was passing the bridge and it just immediately fell on the ice. Fortunately, nobody was murdered, nobody was hurt, except just couples of horses. And after this accident, many people just started to investigate what happened, how it could be that nothing bad happened. And then this bridge just after couples of years passed and then it completely fell to the ground. And one of the explanations of this accident was that from the very beginning of the project where very rough mistakes were made. And some people say that the iron that was used for the construction of this bridge was very poor quality. But there were some people who say that the reason why this suspension bridge was fell down was the fluctuations from the coordinated steps of the cavalry that was passing the bridge in that year. So you see a lot of military men here trying to help each other, and this bridge is here. But Russian people, they are very superstitious. And of course, they try to invent some new explanations why it happened, especially when it is connected somehow with the history of love. And another explanation of this accident was that there was a woman whose name was Maria and who was living next to this bridge. And once she fell in love with one of the military men from this who was in this cavalry, and but unfortunately he rejected her feelings. And once she was looking through the window of her house, and he saw him between the other military men, and he cursed him and said, "You traitor, fail." And immediately they say that after she proclaimed this curse, the bridge fell down. But there are a lot of such kind of stories that are very popular among inhabitants of the city. And so now I introduced you to the bridges across the Fontanka River, and we are going to another river, another canal, I would say, which is called Griboyedov Canal. It's here between, it's very crooked because in past it was called Krivusha River, that literally we can translate into English like crooked river. And that's why if you take a boat trip, usually the boats, they do not navigate along this canal because it's really hard to navigate and to make all these turns all the time. That's why Griboyedov Canal, unfortunately, is not always included into the trip, but you can have a really nice stroll, walk along this bridge, and to see the beautiful, but mostly pedestrian bridges across the Griboyedov Canal. This is one of my favorite bridges. It's called Bank Bridge because it's located in front of the former bank, actually the first bank that was built in Russia at the time of Catherine the Great. And the griffons from the Greek and Egyptian mythology, these are the creatures who were the guardians of treasuries all the time. And that's why it was very symbolical to put these creatures next to the bank. Today, bank doesn't exist there. The building's still there, but the Institute of Economics and Finance is housing this building now. But the bridge itself, the bridge nowadays still is decorating this area. And these griffons, the mythical creatures, were just recently restored. And these griffons are very close to my heart because once I met my husband and he invited me to the coffee shop, which is next to this bridge, so we could see through the windows this griffons. And in couples of years after when he came to me already to make a proposal, he planned to make a proposal on this bridge because in St. Petersburg, this bridge is considered to be like the bridge of love. But when we came closer to this bridge on the winter day, 2019, these beautiful creatures were taken from the bridge for the restoration. So unfortunately, he needed to change his plan and he made a proposal in a different place, not on the Bank Bridge. But still nowadays, we both like this bridge. And every time when we are in St. Petersburg, it's one of our must to go places. So just last year, these griffons were finally restored and they have new wings, newly gilded. So this is another picture of the bridge. You see that this is a very narrow, tiny bridge with wood deck. Only two people can go in one direction. So it's very narrow. And this yellow building, this is the University of the Economics and Finances right now. And this image is so loved by people, so it's used in many Russian things, for example, for chocolate factory that is very famous in Russia. It's called the chocolate factory of Krupskaya. And here you see the official symbol of this chocolate factory. Once also the Griffon's image was used for the Bank of St. Petersburg, but then they decided to change their logo. So I prefer this image on this chocolate, which is incredibly tasty, delicious, and a very high quality. And Griboyedov Canal is incredibly cozy part of the city, so you can walk and explore. Every building that you see is a kind of unique historical building, and every bridge that it has, there are more than 20 bridges that traverse the canal, and this is also one of the beautiful suspension bridges across Griboyedov Canal. It's called Lion's Bridge. Another creatures, already not mythological but real, lions. Lion in the is always a symbol of power, strength, and there are a lot of lions in St. Petersburg. We even have special tours, lions in St. Petersburg, it's called. So people can order and to explore the city and all images of lions that we have that were brought from many countries, from China, Israel, Italy. They're made of wood, marble. Many stories and poems were written about St. Petersburg's lions. And of course, we have a lion bridge. And these creatures these lions were made by the same sculptor, Pavel Sokolov, who created the sphinxes for Egyptian bridge. So he made incredibly beautiful images of lions that looks absolutely kind. And this bridge, so you see that it's also pedestrian bridge, quite small. And this bridge is connected with the life of Fyodor Dostoevsky, famous Russian novelist and writer. And he lived nearby this bridge. And this area in the city, it's not the city center, it's a little bit on the outskirts, but still considered to be like historical center. But there are not so many palaces and than in the very center of the city. And Dostoevsky preferred these quiet places for living. And he also inhabited, so he put the characters from his novels in the houses that he described in his novel. For example, not far from the Lion Bridge, there is the Raskolnikov's house. Raskolnikov, this is the main character of the Crime and Punishment novel by Dostoevsky. And Dostoevsky was always very distinct in his addresses. So reading his books, we can recognize the places in St. Petersburg, and we can even have a tour along the cities where that were described by Dostoevsky in his novels. And even in this Crime and Punishment in his novel, Raskolnikov, the main character, crossed this bridge several times, and we can recognize it also from reading this novel. But Dostoevsky never tell exactly the name of the street or the name of the bridge. We can only guess. And even the canal, he didn't call it Catherine Canal, because in past Griboyedov Canal had another name, Catherine Canal, and Griboyedov, this is the name what was acquired only during the Soviet times. And Dostoevsky never called this canal as the Catherine Canal in his novels. He actually called it a ditch, because it was dirty and kind of a like sad, not very, sorry, I forgot this English word. So it was not very popular place for living. and not so many people preferred this canal to live than to Fontanka. So Fontanka was very popular. And the Lion Bridge was so popular that many people who came to the city always admired the Lion's Bridge. And once the engineer from Berlin, he brought this idea from St. Petersburg and implemented this idea in the Berlin's Tiergarten. So in Berlin, you can still see this another version of Lion's Bridge. And Gribetov Canal, as I already mentioned, has the biggest number of bridges across and the mouth of this canal finishes very beautifully. It finishes with that so-called three-knee bridges or triple bridge. This is the huge complex, the whole complex of bridges. You can see from this picture only two of them. One bridge is across the Gribetov Canal, another bridge is across Moika River. So this is the intersection of two rivers. And another bridge was built only just for the needs of symmetry to create this whole ensemble. So this is the faked bridge. You see there's no water under it. But to make the ensemble beautiful, the engineers decided to make this faked bridge. And it has beautiful railings with images of from the Greek mythology, Gorgon Medusa, that you can see also from here, these three bridges, and the image of beautiful cathedral, the Church of the Savior and the Spilled Blood. Gribetov Canal is also famous for this sad moment in Russian history that happened in 1881. Then the Russian Tsar, Alexander II, was killed on the shore of this canal by the group of terrorists. And on the place where his blood was spilled, eventually his son, the next emperor, Alexander III, constructed this symbol devoted to his dad, devoted to his father, Alexander II, the Church of the Savior and the Spilled Blood. That is incredibly beautiful spot, one of the remarkable places in the city. And now I will tell you a little bit about the bridges across another river that is called Moika River. Moika River, also an interesting name. It was it's a natural river that existed a long time ago, even before the city was founded here, and it was called originally as Mya. That from the Ingrid language. Ingrid, this is the name of the tribes that inhabited this land long time before St. Petersburg was founded. And the translation of this word Mya to Russian language now means like dirty river, mud river. And then it was cleaned at the time of Catherine the Great, and the embankment of this river was faced with granite. And of course, the river became started to look quite cleaner, and the name was changed into Moika, that we now can translate into Russian language as to wash. The river with clean water where you even can wash your laundry. And this bridge is called the Bridge of Kisses. Even though you see that this is a plain structure, you don't see beautiful decoration, so it's pretty simple, but the name is quite romantic, Bridge of Kisses. Why it was called like that? The explanation of this name is quite ordinary, because this was the name, the last name of one of the businessmen. His last name was Kiss, but in Russian it sounds like Поцелуев. That is literally translated from English into Russian as kiss. And the businessman with such a interesting romantic last name had a tavern at the end of the 19th century on one of the shores of the Moika River. And of course, he called this tavern in honor of himself, like the tavern Kiss. And eventually the bridge that was located nearby acquired the same name, Bridge of Kisses, or Kiss Bridge. And of course, it became so popular among newlyweds that they come to this bridge and put this lock, the symbol of love, to the railings. But our authority nowadays in St. Petersburg, they're trying to struggle with them because this very heavy locks, of course, they spoil the railings of this bridge. And finally, couples of years ago, a special kind of a tree, metal tree, was put next to this bridge. So newlyweds started to put the locks not on the railings, but on these special trees. Even on this picture, I cannot recognize any locks hanging on these railings. So yes, and this on the background, you can see the beautiful cathedral. This is St. Isaac Cathedrals. Also, there are a lot of cathedrals in St. Petersburg. That's why it's one of the most visited cities in Russia. Just one moment, I'll try. This works. And almost all bridges across Moika River are colored bridges. They are also quite simple, and they are called after the color that they were painted. And this bridge is called the Blue Bridge, and this is the part of the ensemble of St. Isaac Square. And this bridge is considered to be as the widest bridge in the city. It is more than 325 feet length. So you can see it also on this picture. And sorry, that's already another one. And Blue Bridge was called Blue Bridge only because of the color, but the idea to paint the bridges across Moika in different colors came from the first half of the 18th century, because the bridges and the area of Moika, next to the Moika River, looked quite similar. And people at the time, they couldn't take their bearings. They always mixed up the bridges. Because there were no signs of the streets, no navigation, something that could help people to find the way. And that's why it was the decision was made to color the bridges just to help people to get bearings in the city. And it was so much easier after that to appoint meetings, so people can just say, let's meet at the Blue Bridge, and everybody knew where it is. But this tradition still, we still preserve this tradition, and almost every year we paint these bridges to renew the color. And next to the Blue Bridge, you can see interesting polar post, granite post with the sundial, and also with this ribbon levels that shows the level of the floods. St. Petersburg is very frequently flooded by water because, of course, the vicinity of the Baltic Sea, and actually usually it happens during the fall season. And one of the severest, one of the strongest floods happened in 1824. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the level of water that happened, that reached during that year. And a famous Russian poet, Alexander Pushkin, was the witness of this flood, and he wrote his poem, The Bronze Horseman, that describes also the what happened in the city during that time. And by the way, the main character of this poem, Yevgeny, he is trying to save himself from the flood sitting on one of the lions in St. Petersburg. So really, lions are everywhere in the city and sometimes even help people. And this is another colored bridge. Of course, you can guess that this is the Red Bridge, the name of this official name, Red Bridge. It's one of the first colored bridges that appeared in the city. It has absolutely the same image of railings, just the color is different. But you can see that it has also beautiful views on the shores of the river in this area where the bridge is. There is a beautiful newly restored building of the merchants Asders and Scheffels. This is the a huge store right now. It was the building itself was constructed in the beginning of the 20th century in the Art Nouveau style, and it was opened couples of years ago after the long reconstruction. So it's a kind of a luxury stores nowadays in the city. And next bridge is the Green Bridge. Maybe it's not so beautiful, not so bright as the previous two bridges, but it's the most popular among citizens and guests of St. Petersburg because it is located along the axis of the Nevsky Avenue, the main street in the city. And this is the part of the street. This is another bridge that nowadays looks like Green Bridge, but it used to be Yellow Bridge. The name still preserves. It's called Yellow Bridge, or another name, Pevchesky Bridge, that we can translate as the Singing Bridge because of the nearby capella that you can see, this orange building on the background. And this bridge is also quite wide, and as I already mentioned, it was colored yellow a long time ago. But then at the end of the 19th century, it changed its official name, because the capella was constructed here nearby, and also now it is included into the ensemble of the most beautiful square in the city that is called the Palace Square. This is the heart of the city, so this is the part of the ensemble. There's also interesting fact describing why exactly in this spot this bridge was made. Once Russian Emperor Nicholas I, this is the middle of the 19th century, he invited his friend to his palace, Mikhail Golovkin, to participate in the ball and at the dinner. And Golovkin was trying to be very fast. He put on his clothes, and he was in a rush, and the bridge at that time didn't exist in this time, and he lived in this spot, and he wanted to take the boat, but unfortunately fell down into the water and soaked completely. And Nicholas I, he was waiting, and once just arrived to his house and said, "Why you didn't come for dinner to me?" And since then, Nicholas I decided, so you don't need to use a boat, there will be a bridge here, so you will be always in time in my house. So this is one of the explanations why this bridge appeared in this place. Of course, this is popular among just citizens of the city who like to make up different stories. So, and this is the one of the major, I would say, things that describe that St. Petersburg is really the museum of bridges. This is another beautiful epithet that we can use describing the city's beauty, because sometimes it's not only one separate bridge. Sometimes it can be even the huge complex of bridges. For example, this spot is called Seven Bridges. And here I show you I'm showing you the picture of the city during the winter time. You see that the railings of bridges are beautifully decorated with lights, and you see the building of the cathedral, St. Nicholas Cathedral here. And there's also another image of the same spot, but during the summertime. And this is the crossing of two canals, Kryukov Canal and Griboyedov Canal. And standing on one of the bridges, which is called Pikhalov Bridge, you can see 7 bridges in different directions. So you can count them. And 7, this is a number that is considered to be always like the number of luck, good luck, in not only in Russia, but in different countries. And if you stand on the bridge and you find all 7 bridges, you can easily make a wish that will definitely come true, especially being in such a beautiful spot like 7 Bridges spot. It also just I wanted to show you from different sides. So this is another summer pictures of bridges. So this is from another sport. You can see the bridge um, along these canals. And so this is actually Pikalov Bridge, where people should stand and make their wishes. And a bridge is the, of course, this is engineering structure that for centuries connected people together. And but in St. Petersburg, not only in St. Petersburg, in many cities, bridges, they bring not only the practical function, but also aesthetical function. And in Russian language, as not only in Russian language, but in many languages, there is such a phrase that is called, that sounds like to build bridges. That means to connect, to make connections between people. And today I was trying to share my stories about St. Petersburg bridges, and I was trying to build my own invisible bridge between my culture and your culture. And I hope that you enjoyed to know more about this northern capital of Russia and about bridges in particular. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Marina. It was absolutely outstandingly beautiful and very lovely. I'm sure that everyone who was and will be watching it will be enjoying it the same way as I have been. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Olga. Thank you.